Okay, so we're going to start the what I call organic tornadoes based on our discussion about op art. So what I'm going to do is write my name on the back of my paper. I'm going to hold my paper landscape style, okay, not portrait style. And I'm going to do this with a Sharpie. I know that a lot of you don't have Sharpies at home. I want you to work with pencil. If you do have a black Sharpie at home, you can later outline this with Sharpie. It might look a little bit better. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an uneven, curvy line for starters from one side of the paper to the other, right in the middle. But I'm making these mountains uneven. That's going to make your picture look more interesting. Then make about 6 dots on this line, and they don't have to be evenly spaced. It might actually be better if they're not evenly spaced. After I make my 6 dots, I'm going to start here, and I am going to make loops that hit those dots, like so. And then I'm going to go off the page like that. You are simply going to make columns of these rows, but you have to make sure that it hits that dot area every time you make your second row and your third row and your fourth row and your fifth row. Make sure you go right to the dot that you had originally made. And you can leave a bit of space between each row. One row should not touch another. So you can't take your pencil and go into any of these, okay? But you have to make sure that it hits the dot each time. You can't have an open space, okay? So just as an example, this is not going to work, okay? Because I didn't go all the way down to the bottom. But I'm going to fix that without even having to erase it. So notice how what's happening is these worm-like shapes are starting to form because I'm going all the way down to the dot. And it's also looking like they're kind of squeezed together. Okay? So look. Do this slowly too. Don't do it really fast because it's going to end up looking sloppy. And you need to have a nice, neat image to do your coloring when the time comes to color, which might be next week. Now you're getting to the point where you're going to be hitting the top pretty soon. Okay? Once you hit the top, you're going to act like you're just going off the edge of the paper with your pencil. Okay? So it doesn't end. You don't have to squeeze anything into your picture. You're just going to let it go right off the top. So that's the top of my paper right there. I have another paper behind me to protect my kitchen table. Okay, so that part's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my paper upside down, and I'm going to look at the dots that I made, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make sure that every time I make my loop, it's hitting the dots that I had originally made. And that's going to line up these worms. Okay? And again, the same thing. Make sure you keep hitting the dot. Make sure you keep hitting the dot. And eventually, this whole thing is going to be filled in. And I'm going to have 6 rows of these worm shapes. And notice how I'm leaving space in between each row. You don't want to make 50 something rows on each of these because you're going to be coloring all of these in with different colors. So you don't want to drive yourself crazy and make this project last forever. So here we go. I'm getting again toward the top. and I'm not leaving any space in between. Getting there. Getting there. Almost there. Isn't this exciting? All right, the top. Let me go off the page. Okay, right here. Go off the page, go off the page, go off the page. And I am done with my sketch. Next week, we will add color. Have fun.